is, how do you generate an elegance of earned self-togetherness so that you have a stick-to-itness in the face of the catastrophic and the calamitous and the horrendous and the scandalous and the monstrous.
Hello and welcome to 21st Century Vitalism, show where we're asking the question, what does it mean to be fully alive in the 21st century? I'm your host, Barrett Kane, and in order to answer that question, we're going to take a deep dive into music festivals, electronic music, and dancing. Joining me on the show today is Ashton Robertson, aka Spaceship Earth, who is a multi-instrumentalist electronic music producer slash just guitar shredder. His music is really dope. He's actually the one who made the track that you just heard on the intro. It's called Revolution. It's his newest single. And yeah, we really get into the nitty gritty of what it means to be a part of the festival community that, where we met, and honestly, what's really inspired me and really helped break me out of my shell, as human beings. A big part of what it means to be present and have a sense of wholeness and vitality is the ability to celebrate, the ability to set aside moments of time where we don't work on productivity or getting some sort of outcome, and we can just bear witness to the beauty that is this current moment and what it means to be alive. It's in these moments that really all of our lives are kind of structured to be building up to. What else do we really want to be doing but being in festival? So, a big part of this is that our society is kind of devoid of having, a solid structure around festivals. Even right now, if you're part of this community, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't need to say anything. You're already on board. But for a lot of people who are looking at it from the outside are kind of like, what are all these people doing in this field? I don't know. I don't really buy this. What is this, Woodstock? All these hippies. But really at the heart of it is this level of connectivity that we have with ourselves, our friends, and the moment, and beyond any sort of on paper substance or the music itself is the fact that we're all in this space together for days on end outside of the traditional norms. And really it's interesting in that what arises is oftentimes some of the most essential aspects of what drives us as humans, is what inspires us and gives our lives meaning. These are small pockets of life that we get to really experience the whole gamut of emotion. You'll even know if you've gone, there's probably even going to be some tense moments, so really it's a beautiful mirror into what we value and how we want to best show up. For me, it was really a big impetus to wanting to be socially engaged, to show up with the best of my gifts and to help those around me. So we do a deep dive into that. We talk a lot about electronic music, what it has to offer, but also ethics and morality. Him as a musician, he spends a lot of time with his platform talking about politics and social issues. And, we're seeing a lot of stuff happen with cancel culture that is actually very positive. So we also spent a lot of time on the role of the musician and artist in being a fully well-rounded member of our society that wears many hats and what it means to wear many hats. So we really go all over. This is a really fun conversation. Like I said, Ashton's been a friend for close to a decade now, and I have loved watching his career blossom as it has and seeing him really carve out his own niche in the electronic music scene. He's getting to be really well known and has a lot of supporters at this point, and it's just really cool to have this container to slow down with him and to really investigate, what this phenomena is and its place in our society. So that's what we're doing today. I hope that excites you, because it is exciting to me, and I even enjoyed listening to it on the edit through. As always, if you want to support the show, head on over to Apple Podcast, give us a good review, subscribe, head on over to YouTube, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Facebook, we're on Instagram now, so there's that as well. We're slowly spreading out the tendrils of the show all over to the dark recesses of the internet. So please welcome Ashton Robertson. Ashton, hello and welcome to 21st Century Vitalism.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good today.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. So I wanted to start off, I usually do a nice compliment sandwich, usually start and end with some loading you up with love. And I gotta say, the song Revolution that you just released is so good.
Thank you.
It's so cool for me because I've been following your music for as long as you've been doing it, essentially. I think like
I think, yeah.
2013 or 14.
Right,
And
that's right when I started.
yeah, yep. That's like when we first met, and it's been really cool to watch you keep growing. And like every time you're like, yeah, this is it. This is like the new plateau, and then you do something that like even elevates that. And it's just so cool with this song. I think it really is showing that like you're here to stay.
Thank you so much. That means so much, especially from someone who's been connected with me for a while.
Yeah. I gotta ask for the vocal in there, like the phrase, is that Cornel West?
It is Cornel West.
Nice.
Go listen to Cornel West.
Yeah, no, he's a monster. He's a really wonderful political thinker.
It's like there's this movie, An Unexamined Life, where it's kind of like based on that Socrates phrase, like an unexamined life is not worth living. And throughout the movie, there's a bunch of people ask this question, and his response I thought was extra powerful, but also just him during the last few years, I think has been so powerful.
Yeah, he's been one of the really strong anchors and representations of like what the left has to offer, and like its versatility. Him and someone I've been turned on to recently is Nina Turner, dude. Oh my God. If she ends up in the house,
somebody.
seriously, if she ends up in the house, could you imagine how that would shake things up? Like, she's powerful. Is it Jackie?
I love her.
She's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to see her talk like at a Bernie campaign. It was so good.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm honestly, I would be hard pressed to see her lose, especially with like the district that she's in. Like, she is from that area. She knows how to speak to those people, and it's just like I'm so excited. Like,
agreed.
Those are the things about like politics, and this is something I've liked about your platform is you are very outspoken about things beyond just like the traditional music scene, and I think that it's really important. Some people kind of look down on that. They're like, yeah, just stick to music, but like
totally,
this is music, you know, like being interactive with the world, that is a part of it, you know. You can't separate them.
Yeah, I feel it's fundamental to music, and if you look back at history, there was always artists, you know, not only pushing the boundaries, but raising awareness on multiple, you know, subjects throughout time, just like expanding culture.
Yeah.
And I think politics is so fundamental right now, and just, you know, all of these things affect everybody. So it's really important that we are at least focusing on the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I also think it helps invite other people in, especially when they see someone like yourself who, I mean, most of your posts are about talking to aliens and like really like fun, lighthearted. You have a very positive web presence, but like the fact that you kind of have your hand in both of these things, I think it brings people to the conversation, you know, whether they agree or disagree. It shows that like we can be versatile, you know, we don't have to be in one camp, you know.
It's so true.
Yeah. And I mean, some of our mutual friends and heroes, I guess, I mean, they're all doing the same thing, you know, and I think it's important that we remember that we are fully fledged human beings who, yeah, the game of politics is so frustrating for so many people, and everybody feels like we don't really have a voice because we see so much of the corruption just so in the open at this point that it's like, it is really disheartening, you know?
Totally.
But that's why we have to like have a fire, you know, because like we have to understand that like that the apathy it settles in, and then like once it does, it's really hard to like get moving again, you know.
Fully agreed. I mean, going back to sleep in this time, especially to me with like the climate crisis and everything, like we've got to make progressive changes in the way our like systematic fundamental changes to the entire system, or you know, we like just like the fires we saw this summer and, you know, droughts and everything, you know, we got to leave a world for our kids that's, you know,
Yeah.
Earth is a beautiful place.
It is, yeah. And that's, I think, where like positive, sustainable political action comes from, is from a place of love rather than like a place of fear and that apathy. We have
Totally.
to identify with the environment in which we're in order to like truly tend to it in an ethical and responsible way. And until we identify with, I mean, with the planet, with other people, our community members, we're never going to be able
Totally.
to have an authentic, sustainable practice with it, you know?
That's a big part of it. For me, it's like once I realized everyone's connected, we're all on the same planet, and everything I do affects everyone else essentially, then, I mean, it became like personal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, as much as I feel other people are affecting me, I realize I'm affecting everybody else, and it's my responsibility to cultivate, I mean, for Spaceship Earth, like a platform that allows open-mindedness and fun and connection and community and a lot of like good, healthy things for people.
Yeah. And I think a big part of what also puts people off is like because it is such a difficult thing, like to open yourself up fully and to, because I'm sure you're in the same boat. I know you're in the same boat where you see a story that is so heartbreaking, it breaks your heart, you know, and like in order to have your heart open, you have to be willing to let it be broken in these ways. And that's how we're able to respond with like genuine compassion. If we're not feeling what the planet and other communities are feeling, then I mean, we're not feeling ourselves. We're isolating ourselves into weird islands.
Yes. I think in America, we've kind of separated ourselves from what we consume, and like from our food to media, music, movies, just everything. We don't know where avocado is coming from generally, Guatemala, what does that mean? It's like, who knows if any of that money is going back to the farmers? It's just the more we can reconnect with what we're consuming and shorten the gap between it, and I think it applies to music and podcasting and friends too. It's like we got to elevate our friend groups and each other and stay local and think global.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big part of that, it kind of has to start within, though. Like, I see a lot of folks,
Truly.
and this isn't, like, to knock anybody's approach, but, like, it's really easy to, like, look out at the world in pain and, like, try and do something for the world before you essentially put on your own oxygen mask. And I think, like, music has within it the keys to show people how to better take care of themselves. And I feel like as artists and as podcasters, like we kind of do have a responsibility to model just like good ethical ways of like taking care of yourself. Like self-care is kind of a buzzword, but like that is step one,
It's the bottom of the pyramid for me. It's like the foundation, I think, that really allows us the ability to function in the world in like a coherent and like harmonious way. Like harmony is like kind of resonating with someone else. Like in music, the harmony is like relatively in tune to this other sound, and I think that's in our community. How can we like find ways to resonate with each other, like, or harmonize with each other? I mean, it's so important. You're vital. Every single person is a vital member of their community, and even if we all feel small together, we all make big changes.
Yeah. So in your best, I mean, for you, what has helped you feel that vital sense of responsibility? Because I think that's a lot of people's issues. They just think they're small and alone, and they can't really affect change. Like, how do you break through that idea and implant a genuine sense of autonomy and sovereignty and power?
I do think patience is a big part of it, and I think America, as Americans, we're so like we would need things quickly, and we need sorry.
It's okay.
We need things quickly, and so our attention spans and everything is really short here. And I think being able to like cultivate your sense of self and also like a grassroots community takes time. We're all very young, and we need to be patient with ourselves and know that even if you're just talking to one person, it's your mom, it's like, you know, your grandma liking your Facebook post and you're being positive for the first time in a decade. Like that's how it started for me, literally just like 5-10 years ago, just slowly but surely. But I think yeah, like cultivating some patience and compassion for ourselves, because it's easy to compare ourselves to, you know, all these big influencers and musicians and artists. But like I think comparing the beginning part of your journey to someone else's the middle or the end of their journey like will be like shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think I even just heard like the idea of like being compassionate for other people. A lot of people like they don't extend that same thing to themselves, and like you can kind of step back and look at yourself as one of the other people, you know, like
Totally.
you can take care of yourself in the same way that you take care of other people when you have that space and level of objectivity of like this thing's got a bad for me, you know. And like if you just practice a little bit of patience, like you were saying, a little bit of grace, give yourself some leeway, you know, I think that that's the way forward. It's not going to be this loud, boisterous thing at all times. It's going to be quiet, and you're going to be inching, and sometimes it's going to be sloppy and messy, but you know, it's uniquely you. I think that
That's the truth of it. I think people need to hear that more. You know, it's like with social media, we just see like these rise of people so quickly and they're like doing the right marketing techniques. But for most people, it's a long, slow churn, organic, one by one, day by day. And like change by change, it's, you know, it's definitely an internal process, right? And for me, it's like, well, you know, eating healthier and then drinking more water and then getting up earlier and then like reading more books, just like step by step. It's this process and it's a journey. So it's easy to be hard on ourselves, I think, when we're trying to we're thinking globally. It's a lot, but
yeah. What was one of the first things you personally did that like started your journey? Like you just said, like eating better and drinking water. Like I feel like drinking more water is like the most primary step.
Well, I started getting really into health in high school and got really into nutrition and just started feeling mentally better and more clear. And just really thinking about like where my food is coming from. I guess it wasn't so much like a single event, but through high school into college, I started getting really in college I went to school for holistic medicine, holistic health.
I didn't know that.
That was a big spark, actually.
Whoa, that's huge. Yeah, I asked because like the one thing that helped me turn life around, it was such a small thing, and I heard it from Bill Gates. He suggested it with his whole program, and it was to start a journal. Like just doing something, one thing consistently, it creates like this small opening that you can then work on to expand from. For me, it was journaling. That was helped transform a lot of neurotic behaviors.
Not gonna lie, the literal exact same thing happened to me. I watched the Ill Gates like thing and he was talking about journaling. I started journaling. I filled up like 4 journals. I like changed my life around from taking notes and just thinking, getting all my thoughts down, and I was so much more organized ever since, and I always have a journal right next to me.
Nice. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, that's so bizarre. That doesn't surprise me at all, honestly. You're just like, yeah, me too. Yeah, that makes sense.
Ill Gates has helped so many producers get off the ground. I love it.
Yeah. I love his career art because it's like he's not when you look at like in terms of like music, so that he's not like headlining all the shows, but he found a niche that like only he could fit. And I think that that's another part of this equation is that like what we view of as success, especially with music, I'm sure it's like, oh yeah, we got all like the pretty lights, the bass nectars, all the people who are headlining. Like that's not necessarily what success is. I mean, as we're seeing, all of these people are having these problems come out that like are unique to the rock star life, and it's like
Right.
you can have people at every stage of the totem pole. There is no totem pole, you know. It's just different offerings, different spaces, you know.
Yeah, I think it reminds me, it's like there's something to say about like the quick rise and like the burnout of just like the new artist, and how the slow churn kind of like giving back model that Ill Gates has really, to me, it has so much more depth and longevity. I just like our I think just within our economies and our modern era, everything's so rushed and so I don't know, like narrow-sighted that we get lost in the clout and the glamour and the play counts and everything, and we forget about the music and the community and each other and mainly ourselves.
Yeah. So on that note, when it comes to COVID, we're about a year deep. What has that journey
Woo!
been like for you in terms of like, because you were, doing the touring thing. I think you like had just moved out to Colorado and then like COVID hit. So like, what has this journey been like for you in terms of your songwriting process and your maybe reframing of what success is?
It has changed my mindset about success so much. It's so funny. I used to think like how I wanted to tour really hard and play all everywhere, but now I realize how that would have been really hard on my body anyway. And I've just reframed my mind with music, and I feel like I'm writing the best music of my life because I've slowed down my lifestyle, and it's allowed me more time to research like sound design and getting the best VSTs. I don't know. It's like less stressful lifestyle has helped me reframe myself to the music industry completely.
Yeah. What do you think is going to end up happening once things start opening? Do you think like that fast paced, I mean, that is the music industry, like that's how you.
Yeah, I think it's already starting, and a lot of people are already like just like jumping at the gates. Though I think I've had some conversation with some bigger artists actually who have told me like, well, to be honest, I was burned out from touring. Like, I don't want to tour as hard, I hope and I think things will be slower paced, more, I want to say organic. Like I envision like more outdoor events happening still, and more, like I want to like curate more events where I'm like having people like you host a workshop, at like mini one-day festivals kind of vibe, like early like Earth Night type style events. I hope more of that grassroots vibe comes back.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's kind of like maybe the benefit. I mean, this past year with the Bass Nectar thing, I mean, that he was heavy, like at least for me, I was a fan for a long
Totally.
time. And there's something about what that's done for like tilling the soil for fresh growth. It's like for me, and another one of my, childhood heroes just got you put on flack, Marilyn Manson. He just came out that like, oh, his stage show is actually who he was. And it was like gross. So I just wonder with like the
Beautiful people.
it was so good, but I mean, I don't know if you've heard. I mean, some stuff's coming
No,
out.
I fully have heard all of it. It's sad. It's
Yeah.
sadly not surprising that it's just like another rich dude male musician.
Yeah.
I hate to say that as a white male dude. Well, I didn't say white originally, but it's always seems
It's
to be.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, it's like I'm not thankful for COVID, but I'm glad that the space that it's created has allowed us to slow down to look at these things, and that these, I guess, like predators are getting called out because the world's shut down. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. I really hope that it spurns like a larger conversation of like how we view celebrity, and I think that this could have a lot of good for the industry going forward and how we relate to the people on stage. So we have this, I mean, I guess it is pretty natural to kind of deify the person who thousands are cheering to. And, but like, that's not good for the musician or the fan, really. It's cool to enjoy someone's art, but I mean, that much, you're just freely giving them that much power, and it's like a weird thing. And I think it's even that same energy is what kind of spurns like the fast-paced nature of it and like the burnout. It's like it's just like a power vacuum,
Yes.
It's everybody's trying to get to the center of that, and at the cost of their bodies and sometimes souls.
Right. No, it reminds me of like what we were talking about earlier with like separating ourselves from the process, like not really knowing musicians and just having fans who have like, we're elevating these people who we don't, I mean, I don't think we need to like be interviewing musicians like, who are you before you make this famous song, but it's like because of the separation and like we've become disconnected from what we're consuming, right? So all these big famous movie actors like getting called out to the whole Harvey Weinstein thing and the Jeffrey Epstein thing, and like now our industry's having like this Weinstein moment, and I think it all definitely is like cultivating a safer space for people, for sure.
Yeah, there's some conversations being had on the nature of like, I just saw, and I'm not naming any names, but someone was just like, so how do we as a community address if like I've had a traumatic experience and the person who has done the trauma, like how do we navigate like having the space for them and not like kicking them out, and then like having a safe space for me, and just all these conversations that we weren't having over a year ago.
Right.
I do like the idea of like things are getting safer as more information comes out.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpackage there because I've definitely noticed, I'm sure like the whole Naco situation too. I've noticed there's been a lot of not safe spaces and a lot of like quick assumptions from people like who really love Naco. It's like we have these artists on these pedestals and then we like think they're gods and then we think they can do no wrong. And at the same time, I think we also need to talk about how cancel culture, whatever, quote unquote, can be also dangerous and like inflammatory and over exaggerate and cancels the wrong people from time to time, and there's not a lot of like vetting in the process. But so it's just healthy that all of this is coming up, right? It's like I don't have all the answers, but us talking about it's healthy.
Yeah, and everybody's going to have like kind of a different take, and I think at this current explorative time, like I don't know if there is 100% a wrong answer for someone's perspective on it. Like we're trying to figure it out, because like I also agree like there are certain instances where like the cancel culture actually could even make the situation worse, and I really like the idea of having like restorative justice. Like I don't know what that looks like, but like how do we reintegrate, and this is something for society at large, like how do we integrate the people who have caused harm, if they are genuinely willing to do the self-reflection and like they themselves are seeking it, like how do we allow them to still have their livelihood without having the opportunity to hurt more people,
Truly. And I mean, it reminds me of like why I've been getting more into politics and stuff, because I've realized how these like bigger systematic issues kind of cause all these micro, like just all this mass chaos, all this like how the justice system and the economy and like how poverty and not enough education has led to just undereducated, violent, angry people.
Yeah.
And how it's like the conversation is not to just jail these people. The conversation is how can we restore the local communities and the schools and the like mental health of the people.
Yeah. I mean, at the heart of things, and I mean, I've definitely taken some flack on this because like I came up listening to a lot of Ram Dass, and like the idea of like in order to successfully protest, you have to love the person you're protesting against as much as you love yourself. And I don't want to say that as a means to like acquiesce to the harm that gets caused, but I definitely think that there's something that like at the heart of that being there was once a child. Something happened along their development, like I believe the fundamental nature of human beings is good. And then things happen that mold and change the way that they express their lack, and sometimes it is dangerous and sometimes we need to contain that in order to mitigate harm. But I never want to forget, like at the heart, it's like there's a child there, But
that's so true.
Yeah.
Like we can't forget that. And it's this balanced perspective of like kind of like situational, like, okay, well, someone just raped someone, so this needs to happen. But why are people raping people so much? Yeah. What is the environment as humans we find ourselves in that's like cultivating a certain kind of person? And like even like, not to get all sciencey, but like if you look into epigenetics, they're finding that environment is the number one thing to turn genes on and off. And most criminals have been really suppressive environments where they don't get like a secure attachment to their parent, and they're always feeling vulnerable, and the acting out is like a symptom of this greater systematic issue. And I think the number one thing it stems from is poverty and lack of resources, lack of education.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if someone has troubled parental figures and there's no resources around them, like, we have to be able to make these resources accessible to even kids, like, have it known within our society that there are places that you can reach out to where it's like, hey, I'm being abused. And then you can get mentors. You can get like people who are willing to walk with you for a little bit during life to help teach you how to stand upright on your own, and get you the proper resources to mitigate trauma. Because like it's a physiological thing. And like once you have trauma, it's a lifetime to get unraveled, you know? And we just don't, I mean, we're just starting to get the true understanding of it. But
truly, it is so wild.
It just kind of takes getting like the legislation to kind of follow what the science is already showing. And I have a lot of passionate upsetness at like the current Biden administration, the way that they rose to power. But like right now I am seeing like there is definitely a very left stint that's like swirling through it, and I'm just like really hoping that like this is just the start and we're starting to see more sensible, people focused policy.
Totally. And I do think it's evident of the effect of like grassroots organizing, from Bernie to the racial justice protests this summer to just internet influencers. You know, it's like people speaking up has kind of, I think, pushed this image. Like, I think just even having Kamala Harris like a black minority woman, rather than just like I would have assumed Biden, without the protest this summer, maybe would have just picked some like white lady. And, you know, having Kamala Harris like makes so many minorities feel like they're represented in this country, and women too, obviously. But
yeah,
I think us speaking up, and I think really Bernie and his movement has really changed the conversation.
Really has. He's definitely slid the bar to where we're accepting a lot more reasonable things. Yeah, my hot take on the Kamala situation, because like I also think that it is important to have that representation, so people that are in her same sphere, like they're able to see that and like, oh, this is possible for me. I think that that's the most powerful part. But at the same time, like her as an individual, like I have a lot of issue with, because it kind of does on one level, like it's kind of like a token pick. Like they picked her because of that, not more than her like actual policy or anything like that. Which is why like I see Nina Turner and I'm like, she fits that role, but she's also fierce and like really in the pocket on the policy that would actually have the effect that we want, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like the corporate wing of the Democratic Party is very conservative in most people's eyes, and any of them holding seats is, you know, kind of like a watered down version of whatever policies they say they're holding. And it's not until people like Nina Turner, who like embody their policy, that we'll see like big changes, you know.
Yeah. But it is possible.
And I think it's good that like, you know, we aren't going into this, it is possible, and that you're not, and we're not going into this like administration kind of like with like rose-colored glasses, which I think we did with Obama, which, well, to me, I kind of saw it as like we like stopped paying attention to what anyone was even doing, and that was like, well, we went to multiple wars and Standing Rock, Occupy Wall Street, lots of stuff happened.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that a lot of people tend to forget about, you know, like Standing Rock was under Obama, you know, like that was a really big problem. honestly think that like we have COVID to thank again for people's attention to the way that the government is running right now. And because
Right.
things were so messed up, you know, I think especially with our generation, we know it's just a matter of like the older generations breaking their conditioning of attachment to the acquiescence of what the system is, you know? Like,
And it is like this, like they're just old and used to it, and it's like embedded in them, and it's hard to teach old dog new tricks, right?
yeah. So what do you think art's role is in this? Because I mean, this is what I mean. You have all of these feelings, and you're very focused on this, but your main thing is electronic music. What do you think that
Totally.
this art has to offer for even like the next generation? And you know, what is its role?
I think art has a way of creating a conversation that politics doesn't have the ability to do. So, like, someone's way more likely to listen to a song than listen to, you know, some politician rant about some economic system. And the it reminds me of Alex Gray. He has a book called Mission of Art, and he talks a lot about how art can translate states of being and how we embed our states of being into our art, and those who listen to it or look at it will tap into those states of being, and those states of being will be translated easier in culture. So for me, it's like creating this like mini reality that we can all tap into that is like, to me, is like it opens a door, and music is kind of like the glue that holds our society together, but it's not so much like the most important part. I've, you know, realized, like, it's like unless we are growing food and having clean water, it's like there's no music. But the music and the art is like, I think, the reason we do end up living.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the true joy of life.
It's like at the top of the pyramid of like needs, you know, it's like art. Like once all the other things are satiated, that's what we spend our time doing, is interacting with art and beauty and awe. And you know, like that's what it's
So
for.
true.
That's what's drawing us forward, is to experience these different states. So getting more specific, what do you think about electronic music fulfills that role maybe to a better degree? Because I personally think that the implication of electronic music, it is bigger than other genres, to be frank.
So it reminds me of like, there's like this like global spiritual awakening that's happening on the planet, and it's kind of this like amorphous, ethereal kind of thing. And I feel like electronic music really embodies that. When everything, I mean, I'm a guitar player, so I love rock, but when the rock was dominating force of culture, like everything's so about like the mosh pit compared to the dancing. And I think the dancing and the ecstatic states that get like tapped into when you're on the dance floor help us break open our consciousness, which is like kind of what like shamanic culture was doing all along, with just like using dance and music and rhythmic drumming, and the beat and dancing and collective dancing to really like break open our consciousness and allow other dimensions, I guess. You know, it's like for the shaman, it's like the spirit realm, or you know, for on like a basic level, it just can be like your own imagination, your own self, your own your connection to yourself. I think for me is like what I've really found on the dance floor. And there's this also this like synergy between the DJ and the dancers. It's very communal, and I think there's a lot of potential that hasn't even like been tapped into with all that yet.
Yeah. I think we're really just starting to like understand it, because I mean, so much of electronic music's life cycle has been underground. And the outsider community has kind of like looked in and been like, oh, all those people are on drugs. Like that must be why they're dancing. But I mean, like while there are substances being used in a lot of these spaces, like I typically go sober now, and I still dance
Right.
harder than the people who are on
Same.
substances.
Exactly.
And I definitely think that like there's something about the power of it is being in your body. It moves your seat of identity from your mind and your personality structures to your
Yes.
body. So when you're in your body, you're in your heart, you're actually more prone to receptivity and to connect with other people. You don't have as many filters and
Exactly.
blocks keeping you from, when we meet someone, we're like, oh, this person is X, Y, and Z because they look like this or they smell like that. But when you're dancing, you don't have time for that. You're moving, you're grooving, you're tapped into the music as this like unified field, and you see somebody who's in
Right.
that same groove, and the boundaries dissolve. And for me, like that's the most magic part about electronic music is you're doing that until 3 in the morning. It's a
Right.
lot of time.
No, I've seen the most beautiful things happen like in that space, and like people just literally change from like an unhealthy person to go on a completely different trajectory of their entire life in one night.
Yeah.
It's like it goes unsaid, but it also I think as an artist, I feel a responsibility, and I notice there's not a lot of artists who hold that space or DJs who are cultivating that space as much anymore, and I think it's I don't know, I feel like it's important that we remember as electronic artists that you are creating this sensitive space in which you're like influencing people's minds, and if we want to change the world to be a better place, then like the messages and the sounds we use, I think and they don't have to be, but because like I'm all for hyper aggressive music, like I love metal and death metal just as much as anyone else, but like the kind of culture it creates is significantly different than like say like an intentional electronic music set or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually even said this on the show before, but I think it's worth repeating that like my experience with heavier music or like sad music, it kind of reifies what the ego already knows of itself. So like if I'm really sad, I seek out sad music, it only solidifies the sadness. Whereas when I listen to specifically a lot of electronic intentional music, like your stuff, Papadosio, Polish Ambassador, because it is being made from these different states, these more expansive states, it it doesn't point you towards yourself. It points you towards your heart more than it does
I know
like
what you mean,
the
yeah.
conditioned state that you're
The
in.
small self, right?
Right. So like again, it's just like that boundary disillusion, and the fact that most of it doesn't have lyrics, makes it accessible to everybody across the world. you know.
Totally. And it's funny you bring that up because I've been trying to find a balance of like because there's a lot of people who only listen to lyric music, and I also like grew up on that too, and then I got into these like transcendental states of mind where like to me words were unnecessary and dancing what I was in it for, and then I kept hearing from friends that are like, well, I just can't remember any of your songs, like I just don't know the words and blah blah blah. And I've like kind of tapped into my roots a little bit of like finding the balance of the ethereal and structural, like lyrics and non-lyrical, and like even like song structure versus like totally amorphous song structure. And I've been finding the beauty of the balance rather than like just the extreme of one or the other, which I think is so necessary, the extreme of both.
Yeah.
Like I love art that there's like multiple varying degrees of it, and just like I love that people end up having no lyrics and all lyrics, whatever it is.
Yeah. Just full on an a cappella group. All
Right.
lyrics.
We need more of that.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of they're called the Longest Johns. They had that shanty song that became a meme, the Weller Man.
Sounds warm.
It's really nice.
Cozy.
Yeah. What was I just gonna say? Wow. Sorry.
Oh, so that's them. I've only heard a remix of that song. So
Yeah, I suggest looking into them. They're honestly really solid. Like
Cool.
they're under my skin this year for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I definitely think though, in terms of the electronic debacle of like, right now we're kind of seeing just a reformation of just kind of like what we're willing to allow in this space, and I'm really
Yes.
excited to see your music. Like I feel like right now you're starting to come together at like the perfect time as the scene is coming together, and it's like placing you in this position where it's like there's a lot of people who do probably look up to you, not to like, blow smoke up your butt, but like you are positioned in a very good spot to help usher in the next era of positive, intentionful electronic music.
That's what I really hope to do too, is like not even just for my own music, but I have a lot of friends who are musicians, and I hope like we can all lift each other up, and I can only hope to like help to use my platform to elevate other people. And that's like what that was one of my bigger goals, is like getting to this like place where I have like a certain following or whatever, just so I can like, talk more about what's on my heart and talk more about what is on my friend's heart. And,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you actually just made a Facebook group, which I think is really tapping in. Is it just a Facebook group right now, or?
It is. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. It's Healthy AF. So like, what's your intention behind this project, and what do you hope to see it turn into?
A few things. The idea started like a year ago of just like, man, I wish I could post music that I really vibe with, not on my feed, so it wouldn't like clog up my own marketing schedule, I guess. But as my platform has gotten bigger, I just realized like, man, I really want a place where all of my artist friends have that. And if you make art or music, you can go in this group, and I'm hoping to like that people will be involved and like interact with your art. And to me, it's like this common ground, like meeting area of the internet that we can all share our talents, but then like connect with each other, connect with like-minded. And I've had this thing where, like everyone always says like, oh, that's sick, bro. Mm-hmm. And like for a few years, I've just been like, yo, that's so healthy.
That's so hydrated.
Right.
You're really nourished right now.
Wow, you really birthed some stuff up there instead of killed it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like that a lot. Planted some seeds. I think you know. Yeah, I really like it because it's not just music too. Like there's some photographers in there. I'm sorry I forgot their name, but like,
yes, my friend Billy is an amazing photographer.
Oh my God. Like everything
he's
he
an
posts.
Amazing rapper too.
Oh my God, nice. Yeah, so like I definitely suggest, is it an open group? Should we be talking about that?
It is. It is, and we should. And because I want to keep it growing, and I like that. I like hearing that people like it, because if we can all grow, like I just think it's just better for everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's what separates a lot of different kinds of artists. There's like the artist who is like really focused on themselves and growing their own brand. But then there's the artists who are focused on everybody around them. And like it's by trusting that like the people you're around, you're all lifting each other up. It's not like you have to fight your way to the top. You like collaborate your way to the top,
Totally. And maybe music and art in America the last like 100 years hasn't really been about that. Maybe I feel like jazz was kind of about very like in jazz, they would all like play each other's songs all the time because they loved each other and they were building this community. And I think that to me is like that's almost more fun. Like I just love being around cool, talented people too. So it satiates my like, ooh, I want to be around like high quality art thing. I don't know. I just love art. I'm like a connoisseur of art and life. And I just have also, like, I just remembered like a big reason I just wanted to start this group was because I realized like, whoa, I have so many talented friends. And they all need to meet, and they all need to connect, and they all need to post, like they all need a place where they can like just like post about themselves.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people like doing that. I like doing it,
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's awesome. They need a place for it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also interesting in like an essential part of the journey forward on whatever creative endeavor you have to start creating a community, like giving people a space to like meet each other. Like that's how we like weave the web, because it's like, I know so many dope people that like, oh, their platforms would go so well together. And it's like, if I could be a bridge, like that's what we are. Like
Exactly.
the idea of like Indra's net. Are you familiar with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so for the folks who don't know it, Indra is one of the gods in Hinduism. I think he's like the god of gods, but he has this entire net, and at the vertices of every conjunction is a dewdrop. And in that dewdrop is a reflection of every other dewdrop on the net. So you are one of those dewdrops. So in that way, like we are bridges for each other, but at the same time, like we are what's being bridged and the space holding the bridge. And yeah.
Boom. It's so true.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you see that a lot within the electronic music scene too. You know, even like that's one of my favorite things about going to a festival is like getting lost from people and then finding my other friends. And then like when I'm with them, then I'll find the original friends, and then it's just like
Yep.
this. You have these different timelines coalescing, and
Right.
like
That's one of
this.
my favorite things
It's
ever.
so good. It's like you guys haven't met. This person's so important to me, and this person's so important to me, and it's always happening.
I can't wait till festivals are safe again, because just like it's like this, I don't know the exact term, but it's like this higher evolutionary aspect of like a city town center, of where it's like you're going, but like you're meeting and things are happening so fast, and the connections and the synchronicities I think speed up, and like maybe the web of Indra just like gets linked like way quicker. You're like, little Spidey friend gets you along a little faster on the journey, and then you're like, oh, you got to meet this person, and then you like run into them 3 times in four
There's like
hours.
tens of thousands of people too, and it's just like, how the heck do we
Yeah,
keep running into each other?
right. It's like that resonant frequency, like attract like kind of thing or
Yeah,
something, and it's like you're all in this. I kind of think of a festival as like a multicellular organism,
yeah,
and
yeah.
how our civilization we haven't like totally coalesced into like an amoeba yet. We've like tried, we're trying, but it's not working. But the festival is like, it's like there's like the boundary of like the grounds, and that's like the amoeba, and the
Hmm.
inside you're like, I'm just a cell inside of the amoeba, and we're all working together.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that a lot. How do you think it's going to be like the first round of festival season after COVID? Do you think that I've thought about it like going either one of two ways. Like people are going to be just so gracious and like fulfilled by it, and then there's going to be the folks who are like, "Oh, I'm going to do all the drugs," and then just like spiral out. Like I know both of these things are going to happen, but like how are you going to interact differently?
Wow. It's so true. People are gonna go way too hard. So I hope to cultivate events where it's like being talked about like how COVID's helped us slow our process down and go inward and create healthier events where it's like you're leaving the event healthier on a cellular level, like not just like, oh, I'm mentally spiritually activated because I took a 10 strip of LSD and drank like 10 beers, but I also like ate mozzarella sticks on the way home. Like, what if, it was like you were leaving with vegetables and like everything was organic and you're like hydrated. And also, I think like because of all the sexual things, like that the safe space will be like cultivated more so at events where it's like there's conversations being had to respect each other and to hold space for each other. And
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right now everybody's kind of glued to their computers, So like I feel like all the conversations that we're having, especially within the scene, because I mean some of like the power hitters are getting, dethroned in a way, and it's all has to do with mishandling sexual energy. So hopefully some people will have a little bit more forethought, but I think there's going to be a lot of genuine healing, like we've been deprived of touch and connectivity. And I honestly think this first season where things start to open up, it might not be this year, maybe this fall, but next summer, most likely, it's going to just be like humanity waking up again, and it'll
I think so.
kind of be like Rootwire 2013, that era where everybody's like,
Give me that.
yeah, everyone's just gonna be like, "Oh, I remember this. I remember what it feels like to be in community." And hopefully we can just be more aware of how precious, how fragile, you
Exactly.
know, and it really is all of our responsibility to show up to the best of our ability. It's
Right. and to be more forgiving and understanding of each other, and just like show up for each other in like bigger ways, you know, like if it's like bringing water for your friend group, or you know, it's like, I don't know why I was always like I like this call like the grandma of my group. I would just like have my backpack and like snacks and like a journal, and like someone's having a bad time, maybe they can like draw and like hold a crystal.
Yeah, no, you definitely.
I don't like I found that in my friend group, like holding space for other people really elevates other people, and if we can have a bunch of people doing that all across the world, then
Yeah. And I think that that's, I mean, just to talk about festivals in general, because I'm sure some of my listeners are like, what the heck are they even talking about? Like, I know like Bonnaroo, you know, like these are
Totally.
like these small pockets of time and space where you can explore being yourself in a way that you aren't unhinged by like a job or other responsibilities. Like you're able to just show up and like, it is a very rich and stimulating environment, and it just gives you this like proper moment to really express gratitude and like what it is to be in a community. Even if you don't have friends, if you just show up, you're gonna find friends if you just open up even 10%. And I think like the power of festivals has always been in that, in the people powered experience, and I think going forward is going to be explosive.
yeah, I do see how like an outsider could see the lure of the festival just being about the drugs and the partying and stuff, but really it's about like how it changes you, who you meet, like what it brings out of you. I've even found like my connection to nature has been so much more strengthened and reinforced, like going out to these festivals in the middle of nowhere. Like it changes your perspective on life, not in just a woo-woo way. Like it's very like palpable, and especially like with all the really refined art in music, I think it cultivates like a higher quality, like a sense of taste.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know like it was one of the biggest things that I've ever done, like one of the most transformational things. I mean, it was like my first year at Electric Forest and ultimately into like the Root Wire festivals in Ohio. And yeah, I mean, without it, I probably wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I don't know where I'd be, you know?
Me too.
It's, and everybody that I know who's been a part of these things has kind of echoed the same thing, you know, like it you like surrender to this experience and just trust that like the people who are creating it, if it's the right festival, are like they're specifically picking artists at times with the art, and it like you're able to just let go and allow the experience to like take you through it. And it's like God, right? It's like I've had some experiences that were just like this synchronicity. You're running into the right people at the moment, which is, it always feels just like, what the heck is this? And
Exactly.
for me, it's a microcosm of all of life. You know, it's like all of the processes of life within a weekend. You're falling in love, you're falling out of love, you're going through heart.
Exactly.
Like it's everything, and it's yeah.
It's amazing. I definitely think the festival has like a forefront into our, it's going to become the forefront of our culture, I think, over the next 10 to 20, 30, 50, 100 years. Like having like a common ground space in a city center. You know, I envision like the future cities to be kind of like a university festival kind of vibe, where it's like you're educating people, but you're also like expressing like the highest like quality art in music, or you know, it's like educational, but or it's like accessible. Well, I have some big ideas. I don't know.
Yeah. You're gonna accomplish some of them. I can see it. You know, I think, you know, right now we're just kind of like still training wheels, honestly, you know, like we're going through a lot of things right
That's
now.
how it feels for me. I feel like I'm just starting with music, just starting with like even getting used to like being like other people paying attention to me. Like I just used to be like this. I mean, I was a very normal person. Not that I'm not normal now, but I'd feel like my past self was so just like I played sports and like just normal. Like
Yeah.
I'm so getting used to like thinking that anyone thinks my opinion has weight.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, I mean, you're like social media receptivity, you know, like every post you make it gets some buzz, you know. At least, and it's not like,
yeah,
and I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your butt by any means, but it's like you get like a healthy amount. It's not to the point where you're not connecting with everybody, but it's enough to where you have the power to create conversation. And every conversation I see you start is typically rooted towards the good, you know. And I think that that's like utilizing power to benefit, you know.
yes,
I think that that's
man,
powerful.
it is. I think a lot of people don't realize their power to help other people and like improve other people's day.
Yeah. And that's really the thing is like the memes. Like the memes are the lifeblood of most people's posting. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like memes got me through COVID, you know, like
Exactly.
keeping up with the news and then seeing something hilarious. It was like, oh yeah, the human spirit. It's still active in this, you know, that humor.
And it's easy to forget in this environment. Just like, is it the apocalypse? Is like what is going on? You know,
Yeah.
no one really
Yeah.
knows. We do, but it's like still pretty intense. Even a year later, it's a year later we're still fighting about all the little things about COVID as a population, and it's like I don't know,
And it's
it's
on
crazy.
the same form as like just all these other memes, you know. It's kind of funny. It's funny how serious people take their specific positions. I mean, some people definitely have a lot more like
Totally.
reason to it. They're like, "Yo, people are dying," but it's like
Right.
literally like one thing you're seeing this conversation, the next it's like a Thomas the Tank Engine saying something stupid. It's just like, how are we? How is this the form where we're like interacting with each other? It's just like I don't know, guys. Maybe we should step back. You know, like,
I love it. It's social media can be very dangerous at the same time, and there's a lot to be said about how like the short form of conversation is like our attention spans just getting shorter and shorter, and like you're scrolling through this feed like like things like this I think are what the future is, more so about like long conversations, when things open up, more in-person conversations, more slow down. And I think that's the beauty of COVID. I don't even know if that's a thing, but
the beauty of COVID. Whoa.
right, like the silver lining of COVID
Yeah.
is like more so that we've been able to slow down and maybe like realize how important long form conversation is.
Yeah. I think there's definitely going to be like a transition period. Like once we were able to start meeting in public spaces again, like I think right now we're conditioning ourselves to reactivity because we're not able to see the person we're talking with or feel their nervous system. Whereas like
Right.
half the shit we say on social media, we would not be saying in person. You know, usually it was
Exactly.
kind of just a matter of like, yeah, different politics. You know, but again, at the same time, I don't want to be dismissive of like there's some dangerous political ideologies out there now that are, so it's like,
Right. It's like on one hand, the internet allows these dangerous point of views to be seen and exposed, which is so important and wouldn't be happening without the internet. But at the same time, it creates this echo chamber, especially with COVID, where I've noticed personally, like so much more anger
yeah,
and so much more, so much people who are quick to like personally attack another person when they're having a conversation. It comes like, oh, like you're ugly. Like all of a sudden it's like, I thought we were talking about the Green New
yeah,
Deal. Like,
yeah, yeah. And again, I think festivals are going to be a big part of the medicine that actually helps. We talk about unity a lot.
totally.
Like, let's all dance together until 3 in the morning without talking.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, like you're sweaty, I'm sweaty. You're surrounded by friends, I'm surrounded by friends. We might have different.
Maybe we are cool with each other.
Right. And yeah, I think like the celebration it's like water. Like we need to be celebrating. Every
Truly.
society in all of history has had, I mean, like yearly celebrations, and they've done it for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's like there's a reason. It's a biological adaptation. You know, it's what bonds us.
It's so true. And I think like also on a personal level, like we forget to celebrate like our little micro wins. We forget to celebrate like life and our daily processes. We always like are racing towards like the next paycheck or the next, the big release or whatever, the biggest podcast ever. And it's like, how can we remember to celebrate like just being alive, and that we've like done enough over the last year or so, like instead of just, we're very much like work all year to vacation for once a week. Like, how can we have these smaller moments and honoring each other in our friend group, like being excited for, your friend when he gets a promotion or whatever, like, and not comparing you so much and all that.
Yeah. Celebrate the little wins. That's probably what this episode is going to be called. I think that's a big part of it, And I mean, I think like it's going to be a sweet, sweet time when we're able to finally gather again. Oh my God. Like,
so thankful
that it's going to be happening,
I legit cried watching a live concert YouTube video the other day, and I was like, who am I? Just like literally watch one video 20 minutes into it and you're like, oh, I miss people. You remember like places and things, and wow, they all like love each other.
Yeah. I remembered like it's going to be interesting to see, especially in like music situations, like people's I guess boundaries in terms of like touch. Like there's also going to be a transition of like to be comfortable in a space like that with people breathing on you and sweating on you. And like, I remember like I used to just get water and like share my water and just like, yeah, pass it around, go to town. And now I'm like, I don't know if I'll do that.
Don't breathe on me.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, you're at a concert, like we're all breathing on each other. Like, I wonder how long it's going to take for us to.
It'll take a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always wonder about like the next generation who's growing up in this and like, the trauma that it's going to cause them, just like the touch related trauma. Like when you're like growing up and like, your brain is developing, some people like don't even remember what it's like before. They're growing up in this era. And it's like,
it's interesting. And a lot of men already have so much lack of touch in our society. But it's interesting also because like we're an overly touchy culture with all these sexual harassment things, right? And not being able to touch each other and have to social distance, I found is cultivating people's spatial awareness for the first time ever. Mm-hmm. And then like, we're thinking twice about everything now. And I think it will help, like that alone will stop the overly touchy things that especially guys can do on a dance floor, and like girls can feel like scared to even enter a dance floor sometimes. So maybe this will help that a little bit.
Yeah, if anything, it'll start a conversation. And then that's something that I think is really good to even bring up is like, I really hope going forward, especially with all these huge people getting taken off of their platforms, like I really hope we can reform the dance floor to be more safe and accommodating. And I don't know what it looks like in a massive public scale outside of like, it takes each one of us individually to learn how to see signs and see when somebody's getting assaulted in some cases.
Totally.
And I would just love to have more of an open conversation. How do we better protect the more vulnerable people in our community?
Yes. And I think it kind of starts with like where's our energy at, and like what are we trying to get out of an experience? Like, it's like if you're just a guy going to a dance floor trying to like meet a girl, you're like kind of operating in this like lower chakra region, very like primal, like root chakra, sacral chakra kind of vibe. And like, how can we go to a dance floor like in our hearts and in our throats and in our third eyes, but maybe also like all of it at the same time? Because the spiritual community I found is so much, it's like the muggle world's all stuck in the lower chakras and the spiritual community's all stuck like it has like hyper distorted crown chakras, and we all need to like meet in the middle in the heart chakra.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the journey though, right? For like both sides, like you got to have that balance.
Both sides.
Yeah. And I also got to say for the people out there listening, like if just meeting girls on a dance floor it's not really a good spot to meet people. Like festivals are a little different because you have more space and time and it's outside. But if you're like going to a club and like on the floor, like you're not
Go meet some girls.
it's just weird, right? It's just like, hey, you come here, like you're not gonna have like a conversation. So what are you doing?
Do you like Star Wars?
That actually might work. There's a few buzzwords that actually might help out, but it's better than going up and grabbing some butt when it's not consensual.
Let's cultivate some higher standards.
Yeah. I love the idea of you hosting events. I'm going to be honest with you. Like,
Yes.
I think I would trust you and I would want to build that with you. I would love to see like consent workshops before shows, like a meditation, and
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I am pro this happening for sure.
That's so good to hear, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, but you are out in Colorado, so I don't know how that would. Maybe I'll just have to go out to Colorado. I mean, that's easy.
Yeah, I when things open up fully, I hope to be playing everywhere, to be honest.
Yeah. Is that kind of how you'd want to do it? Is kind of travel around and have your
Much slower paced, but yeah.
yeah.
I want to but I mean, I don't know, it's like I feel like I'm like cocooning in like a caterpillar cocooning, so a lot of my ideas are very like in flux.
You're in the goo stage.
Things are very shifty right now of like what I even want to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not music, but just like how I want to take touring
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah, it's still a little bit early to be figuring that out. But I mean, hey, if you do intend on doing like some Michigan stuff, I could see you doing like a 2-night run and then kind of like set up shop and get a bunch of artists and workshops and yeah, I'd definitely we could talk after the podcast or whatever. Like I would love to
Incredible.
help curate like a workshop thing for you.
For real, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. I know enough people that we could definitely get and like have like a very intentional like I said, like consent workshop. We get like a Ayurvedic practitioner talk about food. Like, be dope. Be really fun.
That'd be amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, the vibe's out there. The right people show up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's good to hear that people want that more because I've always wanted to do that and I've done that a little bit, but I feel like people want more out of an experience after this.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of like the opportunity of like building a brand is like having different ways to interact and invite people in. It's like you have the music, but also like Spaceship Earth is bigger than the music. It's your vibe, which can be an entire space of different things,
Totally.
Yeah, I think Papadosio's
Little world.
really mastered that. I think that's honestly a big part of what has given them a lot of success is that like it's the music, it's them, but it's also like the entire space they've created,
Right, and all their friends. I've never seen another band build a community like that,
Yeah.
so integrated, like ever.
It's a blueprint, really. I think it is modular. I'm not gonna try and take away. I mean, it'd probably be a lot of the same community members showing up to the show, but I think that there's a lot of possibility there, and I think you're
I agree.
in the
I agree.
slipstream.
Yes.
Cool.
Glad you think so.
Yeah. Oh, you're there for sure. But all right, Ashton, we are at time, so I just want to say thank you so much. Where can people find you?
So you can find Spaceship Earth all over Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Spaceship Earth Official is my website. Facebook, Instagram.
Healthy AF. What's the full name of that Facebook group?
Healthy AF Music and Art, I think it is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all that stuff's going to be in the description below as well. So
Perfect.
if y'all want to, you heard the song as the intro, you guys know what's what at this point. Give them a listen. I really suggest it. It's good stuff. Awesome. So thank you, Ashton. Much love.
Thank you.
All right, friends, that was the episode. Thank you so much for listening all the way through till the end. I truly make this show for you, and your attention does not go unappreciated. So that was Ashton Robertson, Spaceship Earth. You can find him on SoundCloud, Facebook, all the places, Spotify, YouTube. You know the deal. The social media thing. Yeah, he's all over it. Yeah, if you want to tap into that meditation offer that I had at the start of the episode, remember, the email is 21stcenturyvitalism@gmail.com. It's going to be an extended offer that reaches out into the stratosphere. So yeah, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Also reach out to that email and let me know how you're feeling. I'd love to hear from you. You can always support the show by going over to Apple Podcasts, subscribing, rating. Same thing with YouTube or Facebook or the Instagram. We're on all the things now. So yeah, feel free to do what you do, and we will catch you next Wednesday at 11 a.m.